Welcome. Ooh. Hi, welcome to lab. My name's Tavia. Welcome to another month of First Saturday Science. This is the month of May, and this month we're talking about the lithosphere. The lithosphere kind of involves the different layers of the Earth, and that's going to involve a lot of processes that involve the water cycle. The water cycle is the process that water goes through its life cycle. It's going to go through a couple different phase changes, like evaporation is going to take it from the water phase up into the gaseous phase or vapor, and then condensation is going to turn that vapor into rain, and that'll precipitate. We see that all the time during storms, especially in the month of April and May. And all of that water is really important for life. It keeps life sustaining, life going. When it rains, all of that water is feeding all of the plants, all of our plant relatives, and keeping that life cycle going as well. But once it's done watering plants, where does that water go, right? It's going to enter the soil, and it's going to enter the groundwater resources that we have underneath our feet all over the world. And we use groundwater resources for all kinds of things, to irrigate our plants, and then also for drinking water. A lot of people, especially in rural areas, rely on groundwater for safe, healthy drinking water. And a really interesting experiment that we're going to do in lab this month is creating our own water filter, but not necessarily the kind that you might find in a kitchen. We're going to try to recreate the natural water filter that our earth provides for us. And in order to do so, we're going to use some materials that you might find outside, like sand and some soil and some rocks, the things that our earth naturally provides for us. And each layer that we're going to create is going to have a different type of filtration property for us. For example, rocks are going to filter out all of those large particles, like maybe even bugs that might be going through with our water as they enter into our groundwater resources. And so we'll see a little bit of that, and we're also going to talk about soil permeability in another video. And I also hope that you join us for our live conversation on volcanoes. That one's going to be really fun. So yeah, check out our other videos, and I'm excited to learn with you. Hi, welcome back to lab. My name's Tavia. This is First Saturday Science, and we're in the month of May, which is studying the lithosphere, where we're studying different parts of the planet Earth. And for this experiment, we're going to create a little miniature water filter. And it's a lot of water filters in your home will be filtered through different processes like reverse osmosis or charcoal filtration. But we really wanted you to see how the earth naturally filters water. In an aquifer or groundwater, water is going to filter through the water table and enter the aquifer, the groundwater resource, and from there a lot of people get their water for drinking from there. So it's really important that we maintain really healthy soil permeability, and also making sure that all of these things are present so that when water goes through, for example, when we water crops, we want to make sure that the soil is really healthy so that the water that eventually enters the groundwater is safe to drink. So one way we can do that is by showing you how. And so first we're going to talk about our materials, which is we took 2 recycled plastic water bottles. We just used bottles that we drank from previously so that we didn't have to go buy anything plastic. And then a pair of scissors and 2 rubber bands, a piece of cloth. This is just part of an old towel or rag, some gravel, some sand, some soil, and some water. So first what we're going to do is take our scissors and our water bottles, and I'm going to take the caps off, and we're just going to cut them in half. So we have 2 pieces now, and then I'm going to take the top, and I'm just going to put it right in there like that, and then do the same for the second. put those aside. And then we're going to take our rag and cut just a little square. And the square is actually going to go over the mouth of the water bottle. So it really only has to be a little bit bigger than that. And we need 2 because we have 2 bottles. So here's 1. And 2. And then we're going to take our rubber bands, put the rag piece over the mouth, and then use the rubber bands to secure it. And then place it back. Okay, so now we have 2 identical filter systems, and now we're going to add the actual filtration compounds. So first, here's where the science comes in. So whenever we're doing science, we always want to have something to compare so that it gives us some kind of contextual information. So we're going to add the exact same ingredients to each of the identical systems, but we're going to do them in reverse order so that we can figure out, or maybe you could afterwards kind of guess which one is more realistic towards our natural water filtration system that we have. So to one of them, I'm going to add some gravel pieces. That looks good. And then I'm going to add a little bit of sand. I'll just pour it. You want to just kind of cover the gravel so that it's a full layer. And then I'm going to add a little bit of soil. And again, you just kind of want to cover that layer of sand, that previous layer. And so this one's done, and remember, we're going to do reverse order for this one. So we're going to add a little bit of our soil. You want to add about the same amount that you added to the other one so that we make sure that nothing is changing about this system other than the order of our filtration compounds. And a little bit of sand. And now for some gravel pieces. Okay, so now we have our systems completely set up and ready. And next, we're going to add some water. This is a little full. I'm going to empty this just a little bit. Actually, I'll just use this one to measure it out. So again, in science, we generally only want to change one thing about each experiment. The rest needs to stay the same. And that includes the amount of water that we're going to add. So make sure that you add the same amount to each of the systems, just so that we know that it was exactly the same. I'm going to add about 80 milliliters of water to each system. For those of you at home, if you don't have beakers, you can always use a measuring cup or tablespoons, and even just a regular spoon. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that's standard measure. As long as you use the same spoon, right? It's going to be the same amount, because it's really more just about keeping it the same. So I've got 80 milliliters here, and I'm going to put 80 milliliters of water through this filter. And now I'm going to pour 80 milliliters again. Oops, a little too much. And now I'm going to add 80 milliliters to this system. And now I'll wait just a moment. All right, now the water samples have gone through both of the filters, and you can kind of see a difference, right? So this one has much clearer water. This water looks much more clean, by how we're dictating it visually anyway, compared to this one. This one's a little bit more murky. So it kind of feels like, which one filtered better? I would say this one filtered the best. So now the question is, which one do you think most closely resembles the way that our Earth naturally filters water? If you guessed this one, you're correct. The layers of Earth that water has to filter through typically will start with very large particles, kind of like how we mimicked with our gravel, and then it'll gradient down towards smaller, finer particles. And so you can kind of see that once the water goes through, it's actually like pretty clean compared to this one where it has the finer particles on top, and then it trickles down to larger particles down at the bottom. And you can see that it actually picked up a lot of funky stuff along the way, and it didn't clean it as well. So there you have it. Thank you.